Welcome back to DBC. Today we continue with the Numerical Discourses of Buddha. We will finish off the chapter of 4s and hit a little bit of the chapter of 5s. Quick note on the a sutta called the superior person. Buddha begins, he said, monks, one who has 4 qualities should be considered an inferior person. What are these 4? And this is sort of a format of most of the chapters. They might say, like, oh, at one point the Blessed One was dwelling at this place or whatever, and someone approached him and sat next to him and did this. And then when he begins talking, it's usually something like, oh, one has 4 qualities. What are they? So he sort of says something, asks a question, and then answers his own question. Even unasked, so speaking of the inferior person, even unasked, an inferior person reveals the faults of others, how much more so when he is asked. Further, even when asked, an inferior person does not reveal what is praiseworthy in others, and still less so when not asked. Further, an inferior person does not reveal his own faults, even when asked. Still less when not asked. And further, an inferior person reveals his own praiseworthy qualities even when unasked, how much more so when asked. So sort of 4 components of that would be that they point out the bad things about others, even when they're not asked. They won't point out the good things about others, even when they are asked. They'll point out the good things about themselves, even when they're not asked. And they won't point out the bad things about themselves, even if they're asked. Sort of cool little matrix there. On to the chapter of 5s, and this, I like this passage a lot. It's a bit maybe morbid and gloomy if you're not really too familiar with Buddhism. These are called 5 contemplations for everyone. The Buddha begins, there are 5 facts, O monks, which ought to be often contemplated upon by everyone, whether man or woman, householder, or one who has gone forth as a monk. What 5? Quick note on that, householder or one who has gone forth as a monk. So monastics are people who have dedicated their entire lives to either live in monasteries or to travel as monks full-time, as what they do full-time are considered monks. And a householder is named for someone who's, let's say, has been touched by the Buddha's words and has a regular job and a family, and they're not a full-time monk, let's say. So, what 5 things ought to be contemplated by everyone, monk or householder? Number 1, I am sure to become old. I cannot avoid aging. I am sure to become ill. I cannot avoid illness. I am sure to die. I cannot avoid death. I must be separated and parted from all that is dear and beloved to me. Number 5, I am the owner of my actions, heir of my actions. Actions are the womb from which I have sprung. Actions are my relations. Actions are my protection. Whatever actions I do, good or bad, of these I shall become the heir. These 5 contemplations were the reality of sickness, old age, and death. And these, I forget the name in Pali, these are sort of the 4, I heard a story once of the Buddha or someone was having some monks to be training, and they were going to visit the 3 holy sites of Buddhism, and they went and saw a sick person, an old person, and a dead person. And this was actually, I believe, because the Buddha grew prince very well off, and he saw these 3. He saw a sick person, an old person, a dead person. I'm not sure if they were in quick succession, and that sort of is what caused him to leave and begin his quest. Number 4 was impermanence, that we will be separated from all that is dear and beloved to us. And then number 5 is the idea of karma, or kama in Pali. And he continues, beings, while young, take pride in youth, and infatuated by that pride in youth, they lead an evil life in deeds, words, and thoughts. But in one who contemplates the certainty of old age, the pride of youth will either vanish entirely or will be weakened. Beings, while healthy, take pride in their health. Same thing with life, dear and beloved things, and action. So all of these things we sort of take pride in and cling to. Now, O monks, the noble disciple contemplated thus, quote, I am not the only one who is sure to become old, to fall ill, and to die. But where beings come and go, pass away and re-arise, they are subject to old age, illness, and death, unquote. In one who often contemplated these facts, the path arises. I'm guessing it's the Noble Eightfold Path. He now regularly pursues, develops, and cultivates that path, and while he is doing so, the fetters are abandoned and the underlying tendencies eliminated. Good stuff there. Again, from the book Chapter of 5s, How to Remove Grudges. There are, O monks, 5 ways, Chapter of 5s, of getting rid of a grudge, by means of which a monk can remove all grudges that have arisen within him What 5? So here's the structure again. If a grudge arises toward any person, then one should cultivate loving kindness toward him, or compassion. So this is metta, which we covered earlier in the year. Loving kindness, or compassion, or equanimity. In that way, one can remove the grudge. And I note there that those are 3 of the 4 Brahma Viharas, which we've spoken about, which is loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and sympathetic joy. Sympathetic joy is left out, and there was a note on that. One should pay no attention to him and give no thought to him. In that way, one can remove the grudge. Or one may apply to that person the fact of ownership of kama, which is to say, this worthy person is the owner of his actions, the heir of his actions. His actions are the womb from which he has sprung, his relations and his protection. Whatever he does, good or bad, he will be the heir to that. There are 5 ways of getting rid of a grudge, by means of which a monk can remove all grudges which have arisen in him. And then the question is, he specifies monks here and not householders. The question is this only for monks? And why has sympathetic joy been left off? The 3rd abode is not mentioned here because it is difficult to practice it towards those against whom one has a grudge. Interesting. That was the notes. It says that not sympathetic joy because it's hard toward someone who you have a grudge. I'm not sure how that, equanimity would be hard if you're holding a grudge too. Metta would be hard. Compassion, those are all, I don't see the difference there. Quick note on wrong livelihood in the chapter 5. These 5 trades, O monks, should not be taken up by lay followers. And this is one of the steps of Eightfold Noble Path is right livelihood. And this chapter is on wrong livelihood. So, which is to say, these 5 trades should not be taken up by a lay follower. Trading in weapons, trading in living beings, human or animal, trading in meat, trading in intoxicants, and trading in poisons. And then I wanted to make a quick mention of, there was a cool thing on the great 5 dreams that the Buddha had. It's a bit long to read here, and there's a cool line at the end, towards the end of it, which says, "See the danger and know the escape." It's kind of a cool mantra. And well-spoken words, in terms of 5, they are timely, true, gentle, purposeful, and spoken with a mind of metta, or loving kindness. So timely, true, gentle, purposeful, and spoken with a mind of loving kindness. Thank you so much for tuning in. Watch. Next time we will hop into the chapter of the 6s.